Good morning. I'm Rob Webb with TBM Partners, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Nahla Bodiab. And this is a thought leadership series that we've developed, Network Science Co-Create.ai. And we're interviewing business leaders from around the world and understanding their leadership perspectives on navigated crisis. And Nahla, just a brief introduction, has a really fantastic set of experiences. She is currently the Chief Operating Officer of AmBank based in Beirut, Lebanon. And she's been there since the year 2000. But prior to AmBank, she was also a partner with Ernst & Young, the management consulting firm. She's got extensive educational experiences, an MBA from Athabasca University, as well as a doctorate in business administration from Liverpool. And she's recently been the winner of the Strongest Bank in Overcoming Crisis for her leadership at AmBank. And I'm just thrilled to learn more and speak with her and share her lessons and experience with all of the members of our network. So first of all, welcome, Nahla. It's really great to see you again, and I'm really very interested to hear your insights and get to know you better during this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me here, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to see you again, Rob.
It's great to see you. Now, Lebanon has been going through, and Beirut specifically, has always been a part of the world that's going through significant change. But over the last 12 months, these changes have been, I would say, kind of like never before. You've got a political crisis. We have the health crisis with the coronavirus. We've had the economic crisis and social crisis that has evolved through the pandemic. And then you had a really massive explosion in the city. Just kind of give me a sense of, how are you doing there? And how are the people navigating these changes at the broad sort of perspective? And then we'll go into your leadership of the bank and love to learn more there.
Thank you. Let me just start by just stating that the award for the strongest bank in managing and overcoming crises was actually given to the bank, not to me. So it is a recognition of the institution with all its members, with its chairman, and all the leadership, because it's not really one person that does anything that yields any great results. In my opinion, we were not made to live as individuals. And in the organization, there are no individuals. We operate as one collective unit. So I just wanted to highlight that. So the award is for the bank, not for me. Just to give you a brief background on what's been happening in Lebanon, so that you can get an indication about the level of stress that people are under, whether they work in organizations or whether they are consumers. So in October 2019, we had a revolution that took place. And the main revolution was basically revolting against the political system, against corruption. So we had a lot of people on the streets protesting, expressing their emotions and their feelings. And at the same time, we had an issue in terms of accessibility to US cash notes in the country. So because of that, because of the political dialogue that was happening in the country, the revolution shifted. So we started seeing a lot of aggression towards banks. People were feeling that banks are not giving them their money. They're not allowing them to cash US dollars. And it's as if all the anger that was targeting political corruption was shifted and directed towards banks. So the banking sector experienced a lot of stress. Just to help you try to imagine this. So imagine yourself working in a branch and you have a customer walk in wanting to withdraw their money in US cash notes, and you simply cannot do that because there's a problem on the level of the country making US cash notes unavailable. And imagine this customer becomes totally aggressive. And so we had in some banks experienced violence. It got quite intense. So with all this intensity, banking employees and managers, they are in the front lines dealing with this. And we have to remember that they're human beings. They are people who have emotions, who have fears, and who are also suffering from the same economic situation like the consumer. So they also don't have access to US cash notes. And it's a dollarized economy. So the lack of availability of cash notes in the country has impacted every person that lives in the country. So you have this situation going on, then you get coronavirus. And although Corona was a common problem that the whole globe has experienced and was sharing, in Lebanon, there was more intensity because we had the revolution, we have political corruption, we had hundreds of thousands of people that have lost their jobs before Corona. And now we have the COVID-19 pandemic. So things got really accentuated. The structure of the country is not very developed. So we have scarcity of hospital beds that can receive COVID-19 patients. So we went through the same pains as the rest of the world, but we had a few extras. So with all these things happening, then the explosion took place. And if you were not devastated by the revolution and the political corruption and the pandemic, the explosion came to actually ensure that every heart in the country has been broken or touched. So this is life for the Lebanese. Imagine yourself an organization. And as an organization, from a leadership perspective, you have to decide how you want to drive your team and your organization. What you do not want to do is add to the pressure. So leadership has to be focused on keeping the organization and all its members healthy. That is your job as a leader. And this is really a crucial component of leadership. Leaders are no longer these solution providers. Their main task, in my opinion, is to keep the organization healthy, alive, with good energies so that they can focus all energies on the organizational objectives. Rob, to me, there's a lot of keeping your immune system healthy as an individual. From an organizational perspective, the immune system is equivalent to the culture of the organization. Your job as a leader is to keep your culture and your people healthy. They will do the rest. So there has to be a shift. And I think some of the intense negative experiences I've seen are in organizations where leaders didn't recognize this. And so instead of focusing on keeping their people energized and healthy, they added to the pressure of the organization. So they felt the pressure, they felt the risks, they felt the intensity of the fear that was happening, and they got down to the organization. And when you do that, if you're managing a crisis like this, what do you expect? So try to picture different scenarios. So you have an organization where the employees feel safe, where they feel supported, where they feel loved, where they feel that they are getting nourished from an emotional perspective. And then you have an employee that is scared, devastated, worried to be fired, and really afraid of the reaction of their top management if they do anything wrong. So picture this. Who do you think is going to be more resilient? Who do you think is going to perform better?
I think your example, the metaphor of the human body and how we react to those multiple changes is an excellent one as we think about the organization. And your organization and your country went through so many changes. I'm curious, as a change management expert and somebody who's led organizations through these kinds of changes, do you think this is a new leadership manifesto that we really need to be thinking about health and support and caring, and that I don't often hear in business, which is love? So I'd love to learn more about kind of your thinking around do other leaders need to be adopting this type of approach? And how do we balance, care and support with challenge and performance?
Okay, this is a really important topic because a lot of people are not accustomed to hearing the word love when it comes to organization. What we are accustomed to is the word power. What we fail to recognize is that the ultimate power is triggered by love. And so there are some fundamentals that are really important to reflect on. So just to answer your first question, as an institution, they decided that to be focusing on building resilience many years ago. This is not something that has just happened. What happened in 2019 and 2020 is we simply saw the culture we created succeed. And so it validated that this is what is needed today. However, we started building this culture several years ago, not today. We believed initially when we made the decision to reorganize the bank, we focused that decision based on a key fundamental factor, which is a changing global economy. It was recognition that leadership can no longer be managing robots. Leadership can no longer be the solution providers. Because no matter how bright and how smart you think you are, there is no way one individual will have enough ideas or enough energy to actually provide solutions for all the risk doors of his or her organizations. And that, so there's a shift from leadership, from a solution provider, a person who ensures the health of the organization and the activation of human thinking and human power within the organization. That shift, in my opinion, should have been taking place in the last 20 years, not. However, it is very evident that some found it difficult, and I totally understand the challenge behind this. We are breaking biases over years. Leadership, when you say this is a great leader, immediately there are characteristics that come to mind, and they are biased characteristics. In some cases, you see a very strong man who doesn't express emotions, who is just really powerful, and it takes time to break these biases from people's head. So I think this is not something new. I think it's something that organizations should have been talking about over the last 20 years. What we're living through today makes it, in my opinion, a critical requirement of leadership. Mm-hmm. Today, your job as a leader is to build resilience, to ensure you get all the powers of your team and to ensure that you direct them towards the same organizational goals. This is the job of a leader for me today.
So I hear you saying that it's less about power and control systems and now more about, as a leader, helping to shape the culture, to build resilience, to build caring, trust, the behavioral aspects we think about when we think about a really well-functioning team. Really organizationally, you want to see those across the culture.
Correct. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about, because in people's minds, when you talk about topics like this, people start thinking, well, what does that mean? Will there be chaos? Does that mean that there's no discipline? That in order to ensure the organization's best interests, you need to ensure discipline. You need to ensure people come on time, leave on time. And what I am proposing, you're going to have 50% of what I can give you. And I'm being generous. However, if you drive your organization through things like addressing our human needs, we need to feel love. And when we feel love, you're going to see things you've never seen before. And so what I am proposing, I don't want 50% from my employees. I want 150. Mm-hmm. But in order to get the 150, I'm going to ignite love, compassion, trust. Because if I decide to control people, then I need to know that I'm getting very little from that potential. So it's very important to understand, I'm not proposing chaos. I'm not proposing lack of plan. I am proposing that you approach it a different way, where you are actually increasing productivity, ensuring commitment. You know, one of my main problems in our organization is to get people to go on vacation and stay away from the bank. Because one of the main problems in our world is that we have, and this is bad, we have asked people to live two separate lives. There's the professional in you, and you're expected to behave in a certain, and there's the person in you, and there you're expected to behave in a different way. So as a father or a mother, when I go home to my husband and my children, I probably live there very differently than when I come to the bank. In my case, I don't. So what we have done as an institution, we said, you are one person, you are one human being, you have a set of needs, and they need to be met anywhere you are. Don't live your life in separation. If you are someone loving, I want to see that love in the organization.
So bring your whole person to work is what I hear you saying. Bring all of the skills and behaviors that you might experience with your family and your children, bring that great capability to work as well. And you talked about building love and compassion and trust. And those are things that actually are helping you at the bank to enhance productivity, growth, and performance and commitment. I'm curious about, tell us some examples of how does this kind of translate down into running the bank? It sounds great. Bring your whole person to work and love and compassion, but how does it work practically?
That's an amazing question. I just want to reference something here. My research for my doctorate degree is titled Spirituality in the Organization. And in my research, I was able to provide evidence that if you enable feelings of spirituality in your organization, you're going to improve drastically the performance of your organization. Now, I want to define the term spirituality because people have different definitions for it. The spirituality I'm talking about is an emotion of sense of belonging to the organization, to the world, to the universe. One integrated life. And so you have to, you take this objective and now you translate it into how you want to drive your organization. There are some critical processes that need in place that I'd like to offer. First of all, the structure of your organization. If you are a leader that to spread love, compassion, and ensure that you have optimal technical excellence and all the discipline you need to ensure the optimization of your resources in your organization, you want to have visibility of what your organization looks like. In my opinion, and some people may disagree with me, but I really truly believe in this. In my opinion, having a layered organization will turn the lead blind. You cannot see through all the layers. And what typically ends up happening, leaders who drive layered organizations will typically have one or two people that are really, really close, and they bring them the information. And that is just dangerous. Not because these people could have bad will, not at all, but because we need to remember that people have different perceptions and they interpret things differently. So if I'm getting all my information from one person in the organization, I need to recognize that I'm seeing things from that person instead of seeing a different person. So the first critical success factor for me is to have a structure as flat as possible, because that structure will give you visibility, and that structure will create a sense of safety in the environment, because people don't look as competitive. If you're looking up and you have been to believe the only way for you to get is through a hierarchy, then I see everyone above you as competitors. And you're going to be worried with these dynamics when you should not be worried with these dynamics. So in our case, our structure is very flat, and this is very unique for a bank. I don't know of, I know that we're the only bank in the country that has a flat structure. And this has been really important to us, to our success, and to how our managers and employees feel. So the first thing would be the structure.
Yeah, so what I hear is spirituality in the sense of wanting employees to feel like they belong and they're connected to the purpose of the organization, and that you want transparency in the organization. And one of the ways you've achieved that, in addition to culture, is by really flattening the hierarchy.
Yes, and I removed all the negative emotions that are typically triggered by layers of organizations. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to ensure I want people in my organization to constantly feel elevated emotions. That means I need to go and remove the things that I have done or that I am doing that trigger negative emotions. So number one is structure. To me, it's crucial. Mm-hmm. Number two is the recruiting strategy of an organization. So in our case, technical excellence is a basic fund. You have to be technically excellent. And there are plenty of people that are technically excellent in the world. There is no scarcity of technical excellence. They are abundant. You can access, no problem. But the main critical factor that this defines whether you're able to get into our organization or not is how receptive and how much you can contribute to our culture. And the last interview that takes place has nothing to do with your experience or technical abilities. It has to do with trying to understand what triggers your passion. Are you someone that enjoys working with others? Are you someone that thrives on love? Are you compassionate? Do you go on a high if you assist someone? It is these fundamentals that we focus on. So recruiting is really important. And there are times we've been actually very successful. We have amazing people. There are times we make mistakes. We are committed that any time we make a mistake, we are tolerant for 1 year. Mm-hmm. We do our best to convert the person so that if that person enjoys competing with others and not collaborating with others, we do everything to try to give them a taste of the love, a taste of the collaboration. There are times we succeed. If we do not succeed, we dismiss these people. So we're very, very careful who enters our organization, because if you make mistakes, then the culture becomes hard to manage, especially if those people are people that influence others. Mm-hmm. So number two is recruiting. Number three is crucial, and it's how you evaluate your people. Leaders have to understand that their systems and their processes trigger human behavior inside the organization. So when I hear someone say, well, you know, this is a bad manager, before you decide if that person is a bad manager, please look at some of the processes. How do you make, what are the messages that you have actually sent to this person? Mm-hmm. And those are really key fundamentals in triggering human behavior. I want to give you an example because it's really important. So in our case, I'm a COO, but I evaluate no one at the bank. Because to me, the notion of having someone sit at the table from you here, and you're telling this person what he or she has done wrong or what they've done right over the years, it's just a process that I don't I don't think it's enjoyable to the person across the table, and I don't particularly enjoy it. I think it's a process that nourishes the ego, and the ego is a huge poison that must be removed from today's organizations. So we don't do that. I don't do that. What we do is every member of our organization has an evaluation card that has different parameters. The parameters based on which the individual is evaluated is very well thought of, and it aims at triggering behavior. For example, the first year we applied this, we found that some of the managers, and this is really aligned with the culture of Lebanon, we found that some of the managers don't invest enough effort in teaching their employees. And so they are threatened by their employees. And so what we did is an element where if you are a manager and you have top performers identified from your team, then that makes you an amazing manager, and your bonus is linked with this. So we saw the shift within a few months, and we saw managers really investing tremendous effort in teaching, nurturing, helping, and assisting. And so the scorecard has multiple parameters. There are some parameters that really take individual contribution. There are some parameters that take into consideration the department contribution, and have elements that take into consideration the culture contribution. So you have people running around helping each other, talking to each other, because our culture respects and encourages giving credit to others. And so it's very common for us when you say, Nala, you've done a great job. The odds that I would respond by saying, no, it wasn't me. Because it truly is not one person. And that is beautiful. So you recognize, then you're gonna get more support. So those are fun. Those are three really key systems that need to be in place for a leader to be able to do and to implement the love, compassion culture I'm referring to.
So using your organizational metaphor with the human body, your promotion of behaviors and relationships and energy, love, compassion are the positive cells that are regenerating inside the organization. And you've got systems in place to both detect and eliminate negative, cancerous cells that might be developing in pockets of the organization.
Correct. I would like to say something about, because I don't want people watching this to think that we don't encounter any negative attitudes or any people that are not happy. That's not true. We do have a lot of situations where people feel they are maybe underpaid, or people feel that, they want to do that. This is normal. This is life. And so what we do is anytime, because we measure everything, and this is by having the evaluation system, it's really hard for anyone to give you wrong information about a person, because the parameters in your scorecard are going to give us a very clear indication of your value. And this removes the need for me to have one person who's giving me his or her opinion about the organization. I don't need anybody's opinion. I need fairness in my organization. And that fairness needs to be based on data, on information that is credible and that nobody can argue with. We do have cases, and when we do encounter cases where we have negative attitudes or a lot of errors, or we have some issues. So what we do, we talk to these people. And we start talking about love and about how wonderful it is to feel this state. And we actually give them love because it's part of our strategies to make people get a taste of it. Get a taste of it. Once you understand the exhilaration of achieving something, and you know very well that you wouldn't have done it had it not been for multiple people that were there supporting you and helping you. There's an exhilaration there of feeling part of something. So we talk to them. They do it again, we send out them and we talk to them again, but this time we do minutes of meetings where we formalize things and we make sure the person understands that if he or she doesn't make the effort to evolve, then he's not worthy to be in this culture. And 90% of the time succeed in turning people around. And so there's the leadership really the attitude of the leader is really important. A leader cannot be someone who is willing to hear someone complain about a colleague. This doesn't happen it doesn't happen, because what you contribute is right there, scientifically measured in your scorecard. We also have an evaluation process where the teams evaluate each other. And so people are more implicated with satisfying the team members than in satisfying us, which is very important as well. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much about this, but
no, I'm curious. Nahla, you've created a very healthy and rejuvenating organization at AmBank. And I'm curious, how does this translate into innovation inside the bank and new ideas?
Okay. I don't know if you can see behind me, but we've been averaging 5 to 7 international awards every year. We get, first of all, we are driven by a chairman who is an innovator. So our chairman is a young, dynamic, individual who doesn't have ego. This is really important, because when you have an ego, you kiss the organization goodbye. Everything I'm talking about cannot be implemented in an organization with a chairman driven by an ego. This is really important. I really would like to make sure that's clear. So our chairman is someone who is constantly scanning the global environment. He's an innovator. He has dreams. And because he doesn't have an ego, he's not blinded. And that perception triggers all of us. It starts with the chairman, drills down to me, to the managers, to employee in the organization. And this keeps the mood of innovation in the organization. And the selection of our managers, if you meet all of us, we will be bored to death if we're just doing a routine job. This is not why human beings were designed. We're designed to dream, to innovate, to come up with ideas that may be undoable, and then to make them happen. So we've received a lot of innovation. If you look at our products and our services, up until now, there are products that have never been copied. For example, we're the only bank in the country that provides delivery services for all bank transactions. This was unheard of. Some of the card products we have are unheard of, and we got multiple awards for different products that we received. Some of the services that we have are innovators. So if you look at the list of our services, a lot of them are done only by us. And this is related to the whole organization. And it's related to I keep talking, but it's important to understand the implication of love and innovation. And if you'd allow me, Rob, I would like to give an example here, because this is so important. People don't understand how sensitive we are as human beings to stress. So as a leader, your job is to ensure your organization is feeling as little stressed as possible. And quite frankly, there's enough stress coming from the global environment. Any stress exerted from inside the organization is a failure on the level of leadership, in my opinion. Same goes for parenting. As a parent, you want to make sure your kids are growing up with as little stress as possible, because they have enough stress to deal with outside your home. So this is a fundamental thing. If you stress me, how can I innovate? So take an example. If I walk into the organization and I call one of my managers to talk to them, and it's 9 a.m. and that manager should have been at his desk at 8 a.m. I don't find this person and I get upset, My ego is really irritated because I'm the boss and I need to find them anytime I want to. I pick up the phone and I talk to this manager, and I don't have to be rude. I can just call them and say, well, why aren't you here yet? And hang up the phone. Do you think this manager will innovate today?
No.
Definitely not. But think of same scenario. Use a different. So I can call the manager and I say, are you okay? Do you need anything from me? Is there anything I can do to help you? Well, approach. Do you think that manager is going to innovate? Well, yes, he will. Yes, she will.
Change the whole dynamic of the organization. So you've created this healthy organization. You've got a high degree of humility coming from the chairman, and you're striving for innovation, the psychological safety. And this sounds like a very, very fertile ground for new ideas, innovation, and employee growth. What advice what guidance might you give people who are, starting to see that this is the light and want to make the first step towards this change? Any words of wisdom, having done this and studied this, from multiple years and multiple perspectives?
I think the first thing that I hope for leaders is to put their ego aside, because their egos will be the main reason they will fail. I think that despite the fact that some leaders may think, but I don't know how to do this. This is how we've been doing things. I'm not willing to change. I'd like them to know that all you have to do is be yourself, because what you have learned to do is present a personality that is not you. Don't be afraid that you won't be able to control people. You will not need to control people. Things will be controlled and organized with very little effort. In fact, I think leaders actually exert a lot more effort in the way they do things than someone like me. I come to the bank and I'm just full of love and joy, and it doesn't matter how big the crisis is. When you look around and you see 400 people driven by love and they're there, you will manage anything. You will manage anything. So those are really the main critical success factors I see for the leadership today.
Great. Nahla, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insights, and congratulations on your success at the bank, and for navigating the change.
Pleasure.
And for navigating the change.
It's a total pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm grateful, and I hope we can spread this, because the happier organizations are, the happier we. Thank you, Rob.
I think we have a huge opportunity to share these insights and learnings with people across the network science community, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Lena, we can